Hey everybody, my name is Masterofroflness and welcome to another Hearts of Iron 4 video. Today we're going to do coverage on the Lord of the Rings mod, otherwise known as Arda Wars. I tried to find this again on the Steam Workshop and I was typing in Lord of the Rings mod for Hearts of Iron 4. Didn't work out. Instead, I had to type in Arda Wars, which is essentially, I don't actually know anything at all about the lore of Lord of the Rings. Let me see. Arda is, again, what is Arda? I believe that's the planet name for... Yeah, there we go. Okay, that is the planet that Middle-earth takes place in and all that stuff, and Lord of the Rings and Silmarillion and whatever the fuck, essentially. So, yeah, Arda Wars essentially takes a lot of the big-name factions from Lord of the Rings and puts them into Hearts of Iron 4. So right off the bat, we got Gondor, we got Mordor, we got Isengard. You did have a couple of other factions that I'm not really that familiar with. So for example, some people might not know what Mirkwood is, but there's Mirkwood. Then there's Erebor, and then on top of that, there is a land that that occupies the UK that I can't really pronounce that correctly. So I guess I'll leave it up to the Lord of the Rings nerds to figure that one out. Imladris, is that how it's pronounced? When I type it in, it brings up Rivendell, so I'm guessing this is like the kingdom's name, and then the Rivendell is just one of the cities in it. I'm not really sure. Maybe I should read Lord of the Rings at some point, seeing as though I played games of Lord of the Rings and then watched the movies, but then I don't read the book. So I guess it's like a large majority of the people actually. Like, people will go up and say, hey, Lord of the Rings is a good movie, but they never go up and tell you, oh, hey, you know, Lord of the Rings book, oh, that shit was dope. That's the same thing with Game of Thrones, though, but, you know, it's practically similar, essentially. I think Harry Potter has the different effect, however, considering that Harry Potter has a huge young fan base, actually, like, massive. Now, there's not really much to talk about here, as the national focuses for all the factions have not been done whatsoever. Most of Mordor's national focuses do not work, which is very, very, very funny. And I assume the other factions would be the same thing, but the only other faction that really had any unique national focuses would be Rivendell. Everybody else has the same bog standard, like, national focuses that all the neutral factions get, or all the... I don't know what... It's like a template, like, national focus, like, tree or whatever. Rohan occupies the eastern United States, and Ruadan occupies Japan. I have no idea what the fuck that territory is. Ruadan? Lord of the Rings? Huh, for some reason, I pulled up the clown dude from Hunter x Hunter. Let me see really quick. Okay, I don't know what it is, actually. It had the portrait of one of the units from Battle for Middle-earth 2, the Rise of the Witch King armies and stuff like that. But anyway, so we're going to jump right over to a war that I'm waging with Gondor over here. Gondor builds up quite a massive force at the start, and unfortunately, because there's no way for you to get any army experience, because there's also no generals that you can recruit to get more army experience, I was stuck with very shitty divisions and not a lot of army experience to actually upgrade those divisions. I just had a lot of infantry, and I basically used my manpower to its fullest effect, just kind of getting my troops mowed down over and over and over again by the Gondor forces, and seeing as though they had artillery, they could beat me 9 times out of 10. I mean, once you have artillery, it's pretty much a guarantee. So this war ends up being a slogfest for the majority of it, honestly. And we're just kind of like moving up more and more and more, trying desperately to push in. Before this war actually happens, there's a national focus, which is the Black Gate focus that allows you to put up land forts along the border of Gondor. So I do have the defensive advantage, and that's actually one of the only national focuses that work. Besides the national focuses that give me like research bonuses or extra military factories or civilian factories. You know what I'm talking about. The ones that go like, oh hey, well you know what? Don't worry, Sonny Jim, I got you right here. Here's 2 factories for your trouble. Oh, well, 2 factories really isn't a lot when you think about it. Oh well, I don't care. There's 2 factories right there. Oh well, just deal with it. And that's really about it. You just gotta fucking hunker down and use what you will. But since I'm Germany here, I'm just like a god, essentially. So these guys just don't stand a chance of me whatsoever, and wouldn't you know it, I do actually eventually break in. They do end up doing some naval invasions here and there. I don't actually have any naval dockyards to start off with, which is very, 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 very funny. But, you know, it's definitely one of those factors where, hey, just spam a bunch of units. Nothing bad really happens. then profit. It's a great strategy, I'll tell you that much. Just fuck a bunch and then build a bunch of sandbags in the form of humans. There you go. Bam. I got you right there. And since I have you for now, essentially, we gobble up Gondor very, very fast after this, and then we move on to Mirkwood. And that's basically my strategy here. I want to dominate the entirety of the continent here. I don't care about the Rivendell. I don't care about Rivendell. Rivendell can stay in this little island. I don't give a fuck. They can do whatever the hell they want. I'm going to conquer Mirkwood, Erebor, and just see how far I go, essentially. I think in a lot of these like LPs that I do, there has to be a set strategy or goal that I have to have. Otherwise, like I end up getting fucked up. I end up like not necessarily having a lot of fun with my commentary, as well as with the game in question. Some of the most boring experiences I've had, which would be the Hurricane mod, because it's not a lot to talk about. And then in addition to this, what else? What else have I not really liked? I really didn't like the Fallout mod that much, but mostly because I was waiting for a lot more content, or at least some more updates. But it has been, I think, on hiatus for a while now. And you know what, modding, I understand it completely. Like, you're not getting paid for it. It's a lot of fucking work. I understand how like, a lot of mods don't have like the content that they do. Anyway, Mirkwood is going to be essentially a cinch. As you can see, there's not really much that we can really do in terms of customizing my military here. So I'm just, or my government actually, and my empire. So I'm just like building up forces really, and I'm just chilling out. Actually, I was thinking about conquering Isengard. In fact, there's a national focus that makes you, I think, friends with Isengard, but it doesn't work. So there's that. So what I really want out of this mod is probably some goddamn national focuses. I think everybody wants some unique national focuses, and I definitely want some from Mordor, Gondor, etc., etc. Also, probably this is obvious, but it would be better if there was like a revamped and remade version of the continent. That way we're not playing on Europe, but we're playing instead on Arda or Middle Earth. That would be very nice. And yeah, that's really about it. Maybe this could pave the way for a Warhammer Fantasy like Hearts of Iron 4 game. Oh, that would be actually really cool to see. Anyway, gobbling up Mirkwood. They're the Poland of this game. It's kind of sad, actually. Really cool thing that they do in this mod is that they change up the names of the cities so that there's Rivendell, there's Barad-dûr, there's a bunch of like the really, really famous cities of the Lord of the Rings universe that you come to know and love, essentially. What else could they do? Well, they're gonna need to allow us to actually recruit people. Maybe some unique technology, like medieval warfare instead of like planes and guns and all that stuff. That would be kind of cool to see. I don't know, that would be a little bit too expansive. Maybe eventually this would lead the way to Game of Thrones having this, but I don't know. I do like that extra bit of effort that goes into some mods, however, not total memedom, so to speak. Mirkwood ends up being a little bit of a problem initially, or not initially, at the last steps, because there's a lot of like heavily defended areas and a lot of troops and a lot of rivers to cover. So I'm just trying to upgrade my guys so that they have artillery, as well as on top of this better weapons and better troop types that I can eventually push through, because the goal here is to eventually win against Mirkwood instead of going through a a cycle of memes, really, that just ends up going nowhere. Last bits of the troops are isolated as well, so you're just able to clean up them, and then Mirkwood finally surrenders when the capital falls, and I'm able to gobble them up. Next up would be Erebor. Erebor, I also set up a justification for way back when, so I don't even have to worry about them whatsoever. They're good. They do have a lot of troops, however. In fact, they take over the Moscow land, so because they take over Western Russia, they have the most industrialized areas, the most populous, and the rest of the Soviet Union is kind of like fucked, since they don't have like their heartland right then and there. But that's okay. I'm upgrading all my infantry equipment to level 2. And let's see, what else can I really say here that this mod needs? I think that's really my biggest like things, really. And besides that, like, the mod is perfect. Honestly, it could even do with the World War II weapons. I don't really mind that whatsoever, as long as there's national focuses and maybe even a new continent. That would be nice. That would like increase immersion and all that stuff. Seeing as though Rivendell, it's not a island, but you know, it's whatever. Yeah, So now we're facing off against the dwarves. It would also be nice to maybe see different racial traits. So maybe the dwarves are a little bit more stockier, maybe a little bit more defensive, so they have defensive bonuses for their battles. That'd be maybe also kind of unfair as well, but you know, it's kind of one of those things, really. Keep in mind of my manpower over there. Initially, we end up getting pretty far with extensive conscription, but then afterwards, I'm gonna have to like just scrape to the bottom of the barrel here because I'm facing off against Erebor. And then here we go, the Soviet Union. Yep, we're dealing with the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union means business, and holy fuck, is it gonna be tough? It's so Soviets. This was initially like really hard at first. Like really hard, because breaking through Erebor with the Soviet like reinforcements was a lot of troops to deal with, especially since they were matching my troops and they had like better troops. So right now you're seeing like a back and forth between me and Erebor. I made some advances here and there, and then like eventually I'm able to make some massive breakthroughs, and all that difficulty that I did have initially ended up going away as soon as I was able to bring in more and more forces. And once the Soviet threat was acknowledged by myself, I just changed the direction of those guys so that they deal with the Soviets as well. You know, just have them march across Asia really quick, taking out everybody in sight. I don't know why Erebor is put over there, actually. Is Mirkwood close to Mordor? And is Erebor close to Mirkwood? Is that how it works? Is Erebor's like what? Is it? It's up north? It's up north near Dale, right? Is that the mountain? No. Yes? No? I don't know. Fuck. What was I doing here? Was I jerking off? I think I was, because I just like left the research finished, and I think I left to go to the other room or something. Yeah, it's just like staying like that right now. Oh man, I don't know my geography of Middle Earth. I need a Middle Earth map. Let me see if I can find them on eBay. Middle Earth map. Wow, Middle Earth is actually a very small section. It looks like a piece of a continent, not the full continent. Ooh, if they can add in Haradrim down south in what was it, Africa? Maybe add in the Shire, maybe in Ireland. That'd be really cool to see. They can, for Rohan, they can replace that with replace the Middle East with Rohan. Problem is that I don't know what they would do with British Raj and Asia. I do know that in the lore of Lord of the Rings, there are wizards that go to the east and they're blue wizards and they talk to like the different inhabitants there. But I don't know if those people happen to be of the Asian descendancy, nor do I know if they share any of the cultural traits of them. So it's up in the air, really. After the initial battle with Erebor and the Soviet Union, it's then become a slaughter. It's just, look at this. We're just marching across Asia, no problem whatsoever, making breakthroughs. Mordor is increasing in size and shape. I'm getting fatter, I'm getting thicker. I'm killing more Soviets, I'm eating more Soviets. Soviets taste pretty good. Just drench a bunch of sriracha on a Soviet, eat it up like yakokai, and then afterwards you can just like keep eating it over and over and over again. Maybe some tahdig to flavor in the Soviet like taste a little bit. You know, you can even like skewer them with tomatoes. You know, you got a lot of like objectives here, a lot of ways to eat a human being. You know, you can roast it, you can stuff it, you can boil it. It might act like a lobster when you boil it, and then afterwards it'll scream, but you know, that's always traumatizing to hear. Now, this part eventually ends, of course, the war with Mordor and the Soviets. It's gotten to the point where the Soviets just cannot deal with me whatsoever, and I just keep marching and marching and marching and marching. I wish I just had faster units. I wish I had the Nightmare Frame mod. That's what I fucking need. I need a Nightmare Frame mod. I think every single mod in Hearts of Iron 4 and every single playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 would be better with Nightmare Frames. That's just guaranteed. Mordor gets pretty fucking fat, honestly. I have more success in this Hearts of Iron LP than Sauron did in any of his endeavors conquering Middle-earth. So there we finally go. The war is about to finish up here in a little bit. I think it's just at 99%, and then afterwards it's done. I love how my name just like constantly changes. It's getting bigger and bigger because I'm swallowing more and more territory. It's great. It's fucking great. And over here, since I've zoomed out, you can see like a little Japan over here is covered up by the faction I was talking about in question. Alright, so finally the war ends. I asked the Soviets for all their territory, I asked the Arab for all their territory, and then I win. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.